Hi, my name is Rodrigo Muñoz, and I'm the costume designer for Sally and Tom at the Public Theater. For me, it was very essential, like when I first read the play, for me it was an important key to really know what Monticello is like when Thomas Jefferson arrived. So I remember very clearly that I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was like, what do I want to do with Sally and Tom? What is the thing that I want to say? And a friend of mine gave me like a 5-cent coin, and when I flip it, Monticello is there. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. There's two sides of this history, like two sides of the coin, and that's the most important thing that I wanted to show in Sally and Tom. The whole process, I was really researching who he was and also who Sally Hemings was. And I wanted to honor both of them in a way. One of the things that I really focused when I was doing the show, designing the show, was Thomas Jefferson used to cultivate a lot of flowers in Monticello. So for me, I used the metaphor of we have the soil and you plant a seed. You see the beautiful flower, but I was also interested in seeing what's beneath the soil, all of the roots tangling. So when you come and see the show, you'll see that every single costume in a way has flowers. I really wanted to show how this is a garden, not Thomas Jefferson garden, but it was just a garden / community that everything was coming together to become one thing. I think the interesting aspect that I discovered while I was designing the show is that I really thought, how will Sally Hemings will look in 2024? And the same thing I thought about Thomas Jefferson. So for me, it was not just transforming the clothing, but it was just finding the resemblance of what the 1700s could move on through time and then come to present day. So for example, when we see Thomas Jefferson in 1700s, we see him with a coat, but when we see him in present day, he's wearing a trench coat. And I was just using the silhouettes just to kind of resemble both time periods and how both of them overlap and connect. And again, this is the same concept of I want to show the two sides of the coin. What will have happened if Sally Hemings was alive in this present day? What are the difference? What is the thing that she will wear? I think something that helped us, designing the period clothes in the contemporary, is that it's a show inside the show. So we have this group of people putting up a show about Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson. So we were actually interested in showing all of the tricks that happen in the costume world during a show. We didn't want it to hide the snaps and the magnets and the Velcro. We actually wanted to show that. We wanted to make believe the audience that we're in the 1700s, and then someone says cut, and then we see all of the popping of the snaps. We see how everything is tricked. So that is something that for the first time we use in our advantage. We don't have to worry about showing all of the tricks and magic that happen backstage. So I used a lot of period research, but I was not interested so much in doing a replica of what we see in historical dressing. I was very interested in finding the identity of each character. Going back to the idea of the soil, the beautiful flower, and the roots, I was really dividing this household in Monticello. I had the person who worked outside the house, and I also had Thomas Jefferson and the daughters, but I also had Sally Hemings. So color-wise, I connected everything. We see Mary and Nathan, who are more earth tones. Then we see Thomas Jefferson, who is in red, because actually that is something that I researched, that Thomas Jefferson used to wear a lot of red. So if you see, Thomas Jefferson is wearing these deep purples, but also Sally has some red in her costume. So for me, in a way, Thomas Jefferson was bleeding in some of the characters. So you'll see that a lot of the red resemblance throughout the whole show. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but I think I wanted to control the color palette of the show so much that we literally swatched in every single store in the city. We had bags and bags and bags and bags of fabrics to really get where the show is doing, because like I said, it's not a period show. We don't want to say this is just the 1700s and everything has to be perfect. It's a company putting up a show about the 1700s, about Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson. So it was finding a balance of like how much do we want to elaborate these costumes and how much this company can afford these costumes. You know, there's one line on the script actually that says why did we spend all of our money in costumes. So I was like, okay, got it, we're gonna do that, you know. And I think in a way that's what we did. I think something that I also found that it was beautiful about while I was working SallyAndTom. SallyAndTom is about a group of people, a community trying to put a show together. So me, when I arrived to the public, I feel like I was living in my own SallyAndTom. I was putting up a show with the amazing costume shop in here. So I really feel like I was so lucky to have like this incredible team, like bringing this show alive with me. The whole point about like what I did as a costume designer, what I did with the costume shop, and what I did on the show is all about community. Something that is beautiful that you will see on stage when you come and see the show is that you'll see a group of people bringing up together a show, you know, but also think when you're seeing the show, oh, there was also a group of people putting all of these clothes so this show can happen. It's just the two sides of the coin, you know, like there's always two sides of the history.